welcome lovely Condor and Stellar Koala, Zany Pony, everybody. Also, if you could do me a huge favor and just give me a quick message in the chat indicating you can hear me, that'd be great. Hello, Bly. And again, I just want, fantastic. Kaiser Clark, thank you very much. Bly, thank you. That will serve as our sound check. We're going to start here in about 6 minutes. Glad you're here. Alex, in answer to your question, spanning tree protocol is on the blueprint from Cisco still. So it's something you need to know for the CCNA. It's just one of 6 modules, but it's definitely still there. Venezuela's in the house. Hello, Miguel. Morocco is here. Great. Let me also just dial in one other thing real quick. In case we need to do any demonstrations today or reinforcement of concepts, I have this little lab topology I put together in Packet Tracer. I did it as part of our office hour, which happens every Saturday Pacific time at 10 a.m. on my Discord server. It's free to join. And somebody had a question about 3-layer hierarchical models for network topologies versus the spine and leaf. And so we just labbed this up real quick, and I opened it this morning and did a little bit of tweaking to it. And it's a lot of great practice. If you haven't yet done so, I would encourage you to get Packet Tracer. It is free. And do the hands-on practice, because I was just tuning this up. I thought, I'll open this up today and just give it a tweak. Nope. I thought, well, spanning tree's not good for this, and this is, I need a separate VLAN down below for the management network, and I needed a few other priorities set. I think OSPF is on there. Anyway, it's great practice to reinforce all the concepts you're learning, and Packet Tracer is a great way to do it. All right, let me move that out of the way. And Blendinator is in the house with the nice, very kind super sticker, wishing everybody good luck. The man behind Blendinator, Dan, is one of our moderators who's volunteer, as I am, for the Discord server to help support people who are working on their CCNAs. And there's a lot of great people who are offering and willing to help. So if you're willing to put in the time, there's an audience and a community willing to help you. Actually, lots of them, and we're one of them. All right, we're going to start here in about 2 minutes. All right, we're going to start. I've got, I don't know, probably I think 12, maybe 13 questions. Some of these you may have seen before, but I've tweaked many of them, and a few others are brand new. So nice, good smattering of spanning tree protocol. And with that, we are going to start. Welcome, everybody. If this is your first test with us, we quiz every single Sunday, Pacific time, 11 a.m. Join us for the next one. All right, and here is question number 1 of 12. It's multiple select. It's also double points. Which options can cause switch 5 and its port gig 2/2 to become the root port? I would encourage you to take all the time on this, and I will go silent so you can focus. All right, what options can cause switch 5 gig 2.2 to become the root port? Wow, that's a lot of great answers. Let's just take a peek real quick. And let me go back because I wanted to take a peek. Let me go back for a moment, show media. And let me get my pen out just for a moment. So a lot of details here, which is good to be able to glean from. So we have show CDP neighbors. So this is switch 5. I'll draw a rectangle because that's a better image for a switch. So this is switch 5. I'll label it. And switch 5 says it can see switch 4 over here based on CDP. And it says off of its local 2/2 interface. 2/2 goes to here. Great, great, great. And it's also 2/2 over on switch 4. So that's just data, no guessing there. And then it's asking us, what can we do to cause gig 2.2, which is this guy right here, on this switch to become root? Because right now it's blocking a root port. All right, I like it. So lower the cost on the local gig 2.2 interface. Let's see here. Lower the cost. Okay, the cost, not the priority. So for the cost, currently has a cost of 4. And if we gave it a lower cost, that would give it preference over another interface if it was very, very close. That's possible. And the other one right here is about the priority. And so in a tiebreaker, there's lots of tiebreakers that have to go on in STP, spanning tree. I'm not going to tell them all to you right now because if I did that, it would give away the answers to some questions coming up. I want to make sure that if you've studied and practiced, you're ready to go. So one of the tiebreakers near the end, they have switch 4 is advertising BPDUs down to switch 5, talking about spanning tree, which it is. And the switch 5 has to make a decision between 2 different ports. The lowest advertised priority is the decision point when switch 5 receives it. So it's not the actual local the actual local low numbered port, but it's going to be based on the advertisers. All right, we've covered that in other videos. Let me go ahead and clear that off. Congratulations on so many of us getting that right. Fantastic. Let's resume. And here is question 2 of 12. Good luck, everybody. Default priorities are used. How does switch C, which is over on the right, how does it decide on what the root port is on that switch for a specific VLAN. All right. Well, that looks fantastic. We got a lot of people on the right answer. And let's just take a real quick peek on the decision process. And again, more questions similar to this coming up. And spanning tree is one of those things where you just might want to decide, I need to learn it and take a few hours and learn it and the basics of it, and maybe verify that in the lab environment and packet tracer and verify it. And then when you go take your exam, you can answer those questions. But even more importantly, you can really work with spanning tree in a production environment if you understand how it works. Okay, so this guy's the root. And in spanning tree, there's really two completely separate things that have to happen. Number one is who's going to win and be the root for a specific VLAN. That's step number one. And in this case, this guy did, switch A. That's just a done deal. And then secondly, all the other devices have to figure out how they fall into that. So on the root switch, all of its ports are going to be forwarding and designated. Now, I'm just talking about for one VLAN. So if we have 20 VLANs with per VLAN spanning tree, we've got 20 instances of spanning tree all running at the same time. So just pick one VLAN like VLAN 777, if that exists. And let's say that this is the root for VLAN 777. So regarding that one VLAN, its two ports are going to be designated. Designated means forwarding away from the root. So if I am the root, says switch A, all my ports for that VLAN are going to be designated, forwarding away from the root bridge right there. And then the other switches have to figure out how to, which ports. Every other switch in the second scheme here, probably, I'll call them the losers, but the non-root bridges, they have to decide which port is going to be the root port, which is the port that's facing or going to be forwarding in the direction of the root. So on switch B, it's going to be based on cost. I'll just make it a quick discussion there. So unfortunately, the cost is the same on these interfaces as far as the BPDs are being advertised. And so the next piece that would go in is the bridge ID. Now, unfortunately, the bridge ID of the root is being advertised on both, so we can't use that as a determination. And then if it gets down far enough, it's going to boil down to the actual priority that's being advertised in the BPDs on those interfaces. And so in the case of switch A, if FA0/1 and FA0/2 hadn't had their priority messed with, FA0/1 would be advertising the lowest priority for the port that's being advertised out of, and FA0/2 would be forwarding. So if we're not modifying that, that would be switch B's. Hold on a second. Let me back up one step. What's the question? How does switch C decide? So that was the whole discussion here. So switch C would do the exact same process. Lowest cost is the same. Bridge ID being advertised is the same. And then it would go ahead and identify which has the lowest advertised cost. And by default, it'd be FGig0/1. So if this was a live environment, this port right here would be the root port, gig0/2, even though it's a higher numbered port than this guy. All right. I went a little bit deeper than I intended to there, but the process of how a spanning tree works, if you watch just a couple videos and lab it up a couple times, it'll help to reinforce those concepts. All right, next question. As we continue forward, Agent Camel, first place. Here's the next question. It's question 3. Where are root ports located? The faster you answer correctly, the more points you get. It's great to have you here. All right. right, well done, team. Here we go. Continuing on. Here's question number 4. Which spanning tree protocol is the default on a Catalyst Cisco switch? All right, it is that guy right there, PVST plus per VLAN spanning tree. So the one of the challenges is, let me bring this over real quick. If we're on a switch, let's just go to the switch, this guy right there, and bring up a console. It's a little access layer switch. Let's first of all see what he's running. We'll do a show spanning tree. Let's just go for VLAN. How about VLAN 10? All right, so here's spanning tree information for VLAN 10. And right there it says STP. That's rapid. That's the per VLAN rapid spanning tree from Cisco. So if we wanted to modify that, we could go to spanning tree mode, question mark, and PVST right there. So when we do that, the interesting thing for me, if we do a show spanning tree now for VLAN 10, the interesting thing for me, it shows IEEE right there. So we just configured, just a few moments ago, we said PVST, and it's showing IEEE. Think of it like the IEEE's 802.1d, like the original crunchy flavor of spanning tree, but Cisco's implementation of it, which is going to do it per VLAN. Okay, if you have 10 VLANs running, you'll have 10 different instances of spanning tree, and that's true for IEEE 802.1d when implemented on Cisco. It's also true if we do rapid spanning tree. It's also going to be per VLAN rapid spanning tree on Cisco. So we'll change that back with a few up arrow keys, a question mark, and we'll say rapid and show spanning tree for VLAN 10. And it's going to show up like that. All right, so those are our two major flavors until we get to multiple spanning tree, which is outside the scope of CCNA. But the basic concepts as far as how do we forward, how do we not forward, how do we make the decisions, all that stuff with cost and with the priorities, that's the same in rapid spanning tree and also in the traditional flavor, 802.1d. All right, moving forward, here we go. Here's our next question. It is this, question 5 of 12. Which option guarantees becoming and remaining the root bridge for VLAN 10 on this switch? All right, you can't go too much lower than 0. So on the existing switch for VLAN 10, or the existing route, it had a priority of 20,490, followed by its base MAC address and also the extended number for the VLAN. But it doesn't have, it still can be beat. So if you set it to 0, and we would win. And then there would be nowhere anybody else could go below 0 to actually win. So good work, good work, good work. And Gentle Dingo is in first place, followed by Amusing Eagle, Noble Bunny, Happy Octopus, and Creative Seal. If that's one of you, if you're one of those, I should say, congratulations. Here we go on to question number 6, the halfway point. Which of the following is not an 802.1d, aka IEEE, STP port state? Hello, Vamsy. Join the quiz. Just go ahead and log in and join the quiz. The pin number's at the bottom. That'd be great. All right, perfect discarding. And the little visual was a help for that as well. But one thing I've discovered is that even if so discarding is like a unique term just for the standard of 802.1W as opposed to D. But even if we go to, and this is important, I think, even if we go to a switch, let's go to the switch again. And currently it's running rapid spanning tree right there. And so like this port right there, port gig 01 or gig 02 is blocking. But we're running rapid spanning tree, so why doesn't it say discarding as opposed to blocking? It should, right? Well, they never asked me. No one ever called and said, Keith, do we make... I tease. Just be aware that whether you're running Cisco's 802.1D compatible, which shows up as IEEE, or which is PVST in the background, or running rapid spanning tree, it's not going to change what it says here under status of the port. So if you want to say, I want to show don't show blocking, show it as discarding. It's not happening in most of the iOSs that I've seen. So just a heads up that when you change this, don't expect the output to reflect the new terms because it doesn't always do it. All right, now you know. Here we go. Next question. It is this. This question number 7 of 12. Ooh, which order is used when switch 5 calculates an STP root port for VLAN 30? Now, I want to give you a huge heads up and then I'll be quiet. It's the same logical process that any switch would use when it's not the root switch and trying to determine what is the root port I should use. Good luck, everybody. All right, well, this is the order that you should probably practice and memorize and be comfortable with. So if you and I are a switch, and we'll go ahead and just say this is us, and there is a root bridge out there somewhere, and let's imagine there's a couple of other switches. Let me go ahead and draw this in black here. A couple other switches between us. We'll call it switch 1, switch 2, and then there's us. And let's say there's a couple links there. The first thing we're going to try to do is identify, okay, what's going to be our root port? Out of which port? Port A, B, or C is at the lowest cost based on the BPDs I've been receiving and my local cost on those interfaces. What is the best path? Now, if it happens to be coming from switch 1, we can rule out this port, so we can get rid of that as far as a root port. And then we take that off our list. Then we say, okay, now switch 1 here is advertising those BPDs to us on 2 different links, and the bridge ID for switch 1 is the same. If it was between switch 1 and switch 2, which it no longer is because the cost was better here, then it would be down 2 has the lowest bridge ID. And if that's not applicable, which isn't here, the next step would be the lowest received port priority. So the priority value, if we take a look at, let me grab a device and show you real quick. There it is. That'll work. So here on a device, we do a show spanning tree for VLAN 7777, for example, or 777. That doesn't exist. How about this? Got a little excited there. All right. So here's the priority on these ports from a spanning tree perspective for VLAN 777. Now, those are not the defaults. I think the default is like 128. I modified these when I was building this lab. So that would be another factor is what is the priority on the ports. Now, if the priority is the same, on all the ports. The next question is, what is the next tiebreaker? And then it goes down to the lowest received port ID. So if switch 1 right here, if this is port 6, let me get a different color. This is port 6 and this is port 7. And everything else was equal. The port, this interface here, port 6, would be the one that, or the corresponding port from port 6, I should say, on our switch, would be used as the root port. So these 4 elements, if you're not a root bridge and you're trying to calculate the root port for a VLAN, it's exactly these 4 steps in that order until we have a tiebreaker. Okay, and that's going to come up again and again and again and again. So that's a couple things you want to reinforce and practice with. And Gentle Dingo still on top. Creative Seal. Woohoo, 3 in a row as a comeback. Fantastic. Here is question number 8. It's double points. Switch 1 is the root bridge for VLAN 10. Hard stop. Regarding switch 4 in the topology, which interface will it choose to be the root port for that same VLAN? There's also port channels there that are indicated with the pink color. 100 megabit links, fast Ethernet are in white. And the gigabit links are in yellow. That's a pretty amazing answer. Congratulations, everyone. Here's our next question. Question 9 of 12. What will cause a switch to be the root of a spanning tree? Oh, fantastic. The bridge ID, the priority is the leading part of that. Fantastic. No need for much explanation there. Nice work. And here's question 10 of 12. What causes gig 2/2 on this switch to become a root port? right. Lower is better. If, we went through the 4 steps to decide how to become a root port or which port should, and the very first element there is cost. Like, what is the lowest cost to get towards the root? Nice work, and we have just 2 more to go. This is the time. If you're going to sprint, now's the opportunity. The faster you answer the questions correctly, you get more points. And so I wish you the best. Also, this is a great opportunity for, reviewing elements, identifying what we need to study, maybe preloading some ideas that help you study when you get to it. And there is a playlist here on YouTube. It is free, and it is not all the quiz. We've done this almost for 2 years now, but I've taken, when there's not too much of a repeat, most of them, and they're in a playlist on my YouTube channel. So you can just buzz through them, help reinforce your concepts, and good to go. All right, question 11. What is true about VLAN 1's spanning tree as it relates to gigabit Ethernet 0/0? Okay, what this represents right here, the P2P is if you have a full duplex connection, which is going to be the case most of the time. But the edge keyword represents that port fast is enabled on that port. So let's say you have a user that's in their office and they physically connect to a little port that's in their office, which goes over to the wiring closet, which goes to a switch port eventually. And when they plug in, instead of spanning tree having to go through its learning and waiting game, with port fast enabled, it's going to go ahead and just say, great, I'm going to start forwarding. And if I see BPDUs, then I can slow the truck down. I can say there's a problem. But this basically helps traffic flow faster for conversions to happen, to go to a forwarding state on that designated port, as opposed to having to wait the full normal time. So that's why this answer of STB converging faster, it's like, what is the final state we want you in, and how fast can you get there? And that's converged when everything agrees and everybody knows about the same topology and they forward through it. All right, I think we have one more question, and that's it. We're done. All right, Gentle Dingo still on top, Agent Camel, Creative Seal, Happy Octopus, and Noble Bunny. All right, also just after this, if you're interested, I will leave this Kahoot open, and I'll stop the stream, the live quiz, but we can jump over my Discord server. I'll post a link there here in a moment, and if you want to ask any questions about any of these questions, feel free. All right, and here's our final question. Question number 12, multiple select. Which indicators imply that switch 5 is a root bridge? All right, no cost to get to the root. That's because it is the root, and no root port. And those are the two giveaways. So even if this is a new output that you haven't seen before, we could just like determine, okay, for switch 5, which we're currently at, and look at the details here. We have the cost for reaching the roots of all of these spanning trees, and there's a 0 there. And there's also no root port. And those are the two indicators that would say, hey, switch 5, you must be the King Kong of spanning tree for VLAN 5. All right, let me clear that off. And let me say again, congratulations. Let's take a look at the winners table. In fact, you're all winners. Thanks for showing up. It's been good spending a few minutes with you today. Here is the podium. All right, and let's take a look at what some of the hardest questions were. So these are the 3 hardest questions based on your input, which I appreciate you playing today. Which options can cause a port to become the root port? And what's the order used when switch 5 is calculating the spanning tree root port for VLAN 30? And which STP protocol is the default on a Cisco switch? Not so bad. Okay, I'm going to save those details, and I may make some breakout videos just on those. If you are interested, I will be happy to hang out over on the Discord server. I just posted a link for it. And it's just join me in the CCNA voice room. And it's just an open forum. We can just chat, ask questions, and I'm happy to spend some time there as well if you'd like. All right, so let me go ahead and also get your feedback. And if you would, on your input device, go ahead and let me know if this is useful or helpful, or if you can chat that in as well if you want. That feedback is helpful for me. Your feedback makes these different and modified and changed over time. I've made a lot of corrections and improvements based on feedback. So thank you for all that. And I will send you out with some music and my appreciation. And again, if you want to join me on the Discord server, there's a link in the chats. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.